Welcome, authentic one. There is something you should know before anything else is said aloud. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not behind. The weight you carry on your shoulders did not arrive by accident, and it did not grow heavier because you are weak. It grew heavier because you are the one who kept holding it, and the one who keeps holding what no one else will touch, the one who keeps absorbing what no one else is willing to feel, the one who keeps moving when the rest of the room has stopped. That one is the one the universe has been waiting for, the one who appears steady in front of others but feels a quiet erosion inside, the one who smiles on the outside while something inside has been dimming for years, the one who walked through betrayal, through false friendships, through the slow theft of their own light and still found a way to keep walking. Let me name what you have been carrying, because naming is where everything begins. There is a particular kind of loneliness that does not arrive because you are alone. It arrives because you are surrounded by people who needed your kindness, but never your truth. By faces that reflected back at you the version of yourself they wanted you to be, never the version you actually were. By voices that praised your gentleness when it served them, and quietly resented it the moment it did not. The loneliness of being visible, but never truly seen. The loneliness of being the one everyone leaned on, and having no one to lean on when your own legs began to tremble. You learned to swallow whole conversations that never happened, to swallow apologies you deserved but never received, to swallow the words that kept rising in your throat until they hardened into silence. And that silence became the room you live in now, a room with locked doors you did not realize you had closed yourself. There is a particular kind of wound that time does not heal. It only teaches us to wear it better. A betrayal that was never acknowledged, a friendship that was never what it claimed to be. A relationship that took your openness and called it weakness, that took your patience and called it permission, that took your loyalty and called it certainty that you would stay. They used your kindness like a room they could enter without knocking. They took from you without counting what they took. They walked away carrying pieces of you that you never gave them permission to hold, and the strangest part is that you still feel their absence more than they ever felt yours. You still rehearse the words you should have said. You still imagine the confrontation that would have set you free. You still wonder in the quietest hours whether any of it was ever real. Then there is the feeling of having lost a part of yourself. Not dramatically, not in a single moment, slowly, in small withdrawals made without your knowledge, a dream you stopped mentioning, a preference you stopped claiming. A version of your own name that you let others pronounce for so long that you have forgotten how it sounds when you say it to yourself. You have been so busy being who they needed you to be that the one who needed you got quiet, and you mistook that quiet for peace. It was not peace, it was absence. A part of you went into hiding because the world kept asking it to make itself smaller. And now, when you look in the mirror, you recognize your face, but not the person behind it. You have been performing yourself for so long that the original draft has been misplaced. You also carry the invisible burden, the one no one sees, the getting up that takes longer than it used to, the mornings that require a kind of assembly, the smile that costs something to maintain, the conversations that drain a little more than they give. You carry it because you were taught that carrying is what strong people do, that asking for help is what weak people do. That slowing down is what failing people do. So you kept carrying, through grief that was not given a name, through fatigue that was not given permission, through transitions that no one around you acknowledged. You became your own pack animal. You became the one who always had it together. You became the version of yourself that everyone could rely on, while the version that was falling apart learned to do it where no one could hear. And here is the part no one ever told you. What you feel is not a weakness. It is not a sign that you are broken. It is not evidence that life has won. What you feel is a part of you demanding your attention. After years of being placed last on your own list of priorities, after years of being the resource everyone else drew from, a part of you is rising, not in anger, not in revenge, in a quiet, persistent signal, a pull, a whisper, a recognition that the way you have been living is not the same as the way you are meant to live. The exhaustion you feel is the body keeping the score. The disconnection you feel is the soul keeping the distance. The sense that something is unfinished is the part of you that refuses to be ignored forever. You are not falling apart. You are being called back. Called back to the room inside yourself that you locked. Called back to the voice that has been waiting beneath all the other voices. Called back to the part of you that existed before the world started asking you to be smaller. I want to speak to the manipulation, the slow, patient, almost invisible kind. The kind that does not arrive with a wound you can show someone. The kind that arrives in pieces. A word that was twisted. A memory that was rewritten. A version of events that somehow, by the end of the conversation, made you the one apologizing. You learned to doubt your own perception. You learned to question whether what you felt was real. You learned to scan every room for the emotional temperature before you entered it. You became fluent in the language of other people's moods long before you became fluent in your own. And that fluency cost you something. It cost you the part of yourself that knew, without being told, what was true. The part that could feel a lie before it landed. The part that did not need proof to recognize when something was off. That part is still there. It has just been buried under years of performing agreement. Years of swallowing your no so that you could keep the peace. Years of being the bigger person, the calmer one, the one who absorbed instead of reacted. And now, when you finally listen inward, what you hear is not anger. It is grief. The grief of a self that was asked to leave its own house so that other people could feel comfortable inside it. There is also the wound of the words you could never say. The confession you swallowed. The boundary you never spoke. The truth that sat on your chest for years because the moment never felt safe enough to release it. You have a whole library of unspoken sentences, and each one of them took up space in your body that was meant for something else. The words you did not say became tension in your shoulders. The apologies you never received became tightness in your throat. The love you could not name became a heaviness behind your eyes that you could never quite explain. You are not just tired in the way people are tired. You are tired in the specific way that only someone who has been holding their own breath for years can be tired. And the world has mistaken that tiredness for weakness, for laziness, for ungratefulness. But you and I both know what it really is. It is the cost of staying quiet in rooms that should never have been quiet. It is the cost of being the one who listens and never being asked how they are doing. It is the cost of carrying conversations that were never meant to be carried alone. And then there is the part of you that feels like it has been left behind somewhere. You cannot always name where. Sometimes it is in a version of yourself from years ago, before the betrayals, before the disappointments, before you learned to keep your heart behind your teeth. Sometimes it is in a future self that never quite arrived. Sometimes it is in a self that exists only in the spaces between what you have been and what you are becoming. And the grief of that, the grief of feeling like a stranger in your own continuity, is a grief that very few people understand. Because on the outside you still function, you still show up, you still laugh at the right moments and say the right things. But inside, there is a quiet mourning. For a part of you that you are not sure you will ever meet again. For a self that you suspect has been waiting, somewhere, patiently, for you to come back and find it. I want to tell you something that may be the most important thing I will say in this entire space. The fact that you are still here, listening, feeling, recognizing, is not a small thing. Many people spend their whole lives without ever recognizing that what they carry has a name. Many people never understand why they cannot simply move on. Many people mistake the weight for their identity. They begin to believe that the exhaustion is who they are, that the disconnection is their permanent state, that the unfinished feeling is the closest they will ever get to being whole. And they keep moving, they keep functioning, they keep performing, they keep holding the world together while something inside them quietly unravels. You do not have to be one of them. But I also want to tell you something else, and I want you to hear this carefully, because it is the part most voices are afraid to say. Hearing these words is not the same as crossing through them. Understanding why you feel torn apart is not the same as becoming whole again. Knowing the name of the wound is not the same as healing it. There is a difference, a profound and important difference, between seeing the door and walking through it. Many voices in your life have tried to help you understand. Many pages have tried to explain what was happening to you. Many well-meaning people have offered their reflections on your pain. But understanding is a map. The crossing itself is the territory. And the territory cannot be downloaded from a single conversation. It cannot be absorbed in a single sitting. It cannot be replaced by a few minutes of recognition, however true those minutes feel. The wounds you carry were not formed in a few minutes. They were layered over years. And the path back to yourself, the real path, the one that returns you to a state of inner wholeness, cannot be compressed into a single moment of insight. It requires a structure, a sequence, a guided reconnection, a way of moving through these layers, slowly, with someone walking beside you in the dark places, not rushing you past them, not explaining them away, but holding space for the crossing itself to take place. There is a path that exists for this. It is called the 7-day ritual, the crossing. Its promise is simple: 7 days to become whole again, not in the sense of becoming someone new, in the sense of returning to someone who was always there. It is a guided audio experience, designed to be lived gradually, one day at a time, each day a stage of the crossing, each day a threshold. 7 symbolic stages: water and salt, the mirror, the candle, the earth, the coin, the breath, the silence. These are not instructions. They are symbols. They are openings. Their full meaning, their sequence, their depth, the reflections they invite, the crossings they make possible, are not for now. They are for the path itself. They belong to the ritual. They belong to the 7 days, but I can tell you this: each stage is a doorway. Each one is an invitation to slow down enough to hear what you have been too busy to hear. Each one returns a piece of you that you did not even realize you had set down. And the listener is not left alone in the rooms they enter. They are accompanied, held, walked through. The way you would walk a child through a dark hallway, one slow step at a time, with a steady hand and a quiet voice. If something in your chest tightened while I was speaking, if some part of you recognized what I was describing, then this is not a coincidence. The recognition you feel is the part of you that has been waiting. The access is in the first pinned comment. The first door is there. The crossing begins there. But the crossing itself, the part where you actually walk through, the part where the rooms inside you begin to open again, that part happens only when you step into the path, not before. I cannot give it to you here. I cannot compress it into a paragraph. I cannot translate it into a single instruction you could follow for free, because the crossing is not information, it is experience, and experience cannot be borrowed, it can only be lived. So I will leave the door where it is, the first pinned comment, and I will trust that the part of you that recognized itself in these words will know what to do with the door when you find it. Now let us continue, because there is more to see, there is more to understand, and the understanding you are building right now, even without stepping into the path, is not wasted. It is preparation. It is the clearing of the ground before the structure is built. It is the recognition that what you feel is not yours to carry alone. It is the recognition that the unfinished feeling is not a permanent address. It is the recognition that the exhaustion, the disconnection, the grief, the slow erosion, all of it, every piece of it, is not evidence of your failure. It is evidence of a life lived in service of something other than yourself, and that recognition alone, that single act of naming, has the power to shift the weight, not to remove it, to shift it, from a thing you carry without knowing why, into a thing you finally understand. You see, for most of your life the weight felt like it belonged to you, like it was your personality, like it was just who you are, the quiet one, the strong one, the one who does not need help, the one who handles things, the one who has it all together. And so the weight became invisible, even to you. You stopped noticing it, because it had been on your shoulders for so long that your body had reshaped itself around it. Your posture had bent to accommodate it. Your breath had shortened to fit underneath it. Your voice had softened so as not to draw attention to it. And when other people looked at you, they saw someone standing upright. They did not see what you were standing underneath. And this is the part that the world does not understand, and that you have never been given language for. The weight of being the one who holds. The weight of being the one who sees. The weight of being the one who keeps going when everyone else has stopped. It is not glamorous. It does not make you a hero. It makes you a vessel. And vessels, over time, begin to crack. Not because they are weak, but because they are full. They have carried so much for so many that the walls of them begin to thin, and no one notices the thinning because the vessel is still standing. The vessel is still pouring. The vessel is still giving. It is only when the vessel finally sets itself down that the cracks become visible. And even then the world does not see cracks. The world sees failure. The world sees someone who could not keep going. The world sees someone who finally broke under the pressure. But you and I both know what really happened. The vessel did not break. The vessel finally set itself down. And that is not the same thing at all. You have been a vessel. For your family, for your friendships, for the people who came to you with their problems and left lighter, while you grew heavier. For the people who asked for your honesty and then resented you for giving it. For the people who told you they loved you and then loved you only when you remained small enough to be comfortable. You poured out again and again, and no one asked where the pouring was coming from. No one asked if there was anything left. No one asked how the vessel itself was doing. They simply kept coming, because you were always there, and being always there is a kind of invitation that the world does not know how to refuse. But here is what I want you to understand about the vessel. The vessel is not infinite. The vessel is not meant to be poured from forever. The vessel is meant to be filled, and the only one who can fill it is you, not the people you have been serving, not the people you have been carrying, not the people who only show up when they need something from you. You, the vessel itself, the self beneath the giving, the self beneath the service, the self that has been waiting patiently for you to remember that it exists. That self is not empty. It has been pushed aside, crowded out, pushed to the back of your own house while you gave tours of the front rooms. But it is still there, and it is not asking for much. It is only asking to be remembered, to be entered, to be given a moment of presence, a moment of attention, a moment in which the vessel is not pouring but being filled. And the strange thing is, the moment you begin to fill it, the world does not collapse. The people you have been serving do not fall apart. The responsibilities you have been carrying do not multiply. What happens, instead, is something far quieter and far more profound. You begin to come back to yourself, slowly, the way dawn comes back. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic moment, but in a slow, gradual, undeniable return. And in that return you discover that the self you were looking for was never lost. It was only waiting. In the locked rooms, in the silence you stopped trusting, in the breath you stopped noticing, in the place where you used to know without being told what was true. The crossing back to yourself is not a journey outward, it is a journey inward, through the layers of performance you built, through the protective walls you erected so that no one could see how tired you were, through the false identities you wore so that the world would not ask you to be more than you could give, past the guilt that kept you small, past the shame that told you your needs were too much, past the fear that said if you stopped giving, you would stop mattering, all the way down to the place where you still exist, the place that has been there since before the betrayals, since before the false friendships, since before the manipulation, since before the weight, the place where the original you, the untouched you, the self that no one else has ever been allowed to see, has been waiting with the kind of patience that only true love can hold. That place is not far away. It is not hidden behind years of therapy or lifetimes of effort. It is behind a door that you already know how to find. You have known how to find it since the first moment you felt the disconnect. The first moment you noticed that the smile on your face did not match what was happening inside. The first moment you realized that the person in the mirror was not quite the person you remembered being. That was the door. That was the moment the crossing began to call you. And everything since then, every false friend, every betrayal, every exhaustion, every hidden emotion, every unspoken word, has been the universe saying the same thing over and over in different voices. Come back, come back, come back. And now, finally, you are listening. Not because you are broken, not because you have failed, but because a part of you has been strong enough all this time to refuse to disappear. That part is the part that is rising in you now. That part is the part that recognized itself in the words I have been speaking. That part is the part that is asking, quietly, for a way back. Not a way around the pain, not a way to outrun the past, a way through it. a way that honors what you have been through, that does not minimize it, that does not pretend it did not leave marks, but that walks you, slowly and deliberately, back to the place where the marks stop defining you. The 7-day ritual, the crossing, 7 days, 7 thresholds, 7 stages of return, each one a doorway, each one a step closer to the self that has been waiting, each one a moment of presence that no one else can take from you once you have built it. The kind of presence that does not depend on the people who hurt you finally understanding. The kind of presence that does not require anyone else's permission. The kind of presence that is, at its root, simply you. Coming back. To the room inside yourself. To the silence that is not empty but full. To the breath that is not a reflex but a return. To the mirror that no longer reflects a performance but a self. To the ground that holds you, even when everything else has fallen away. But the path, the real path, the one with the steps, the one with the doors, the one with the symbols, the one with the silences between the silences, the path is not for here. It is for the 7 days. It is for the crossing. It is for the part of you that is ready to stop preparing and begin walking. And when you are ready, when you have given yourself permission to receive the path rather than simply understand it, the first door is waiting. In the first pinned comment, the way it has always been. Quietly, patiently, without demanding that you arrive before you are ready. The door does not chase. The door does not beg. The door simply stands, the way a true crossing always stands, waiting for the one who has finally decided to walk through. You were not sent here to keep carrying. You were not placed in this life to be the resource everyone else draws from. You were not made to perform yourself into exhaustion. You were made, like all of us, to be whole. And wholeness is not a fantasy. It is not a luxury. It is not something reserved for the spiritually advanced or the emotionally perfect. It is your birthright. It is the part of you that has been waiting with immense patience for you to stop giving yourself away. The part of you that survives every betrayal because it knows it was never the one being betrayed. It was being witnessed. It was being tried. It was being sharpened into a clearer version of itself. And now the sharpening is done. Now the witness is ready. Now the path back to yourself is no longer hidden. It only requires that you stop looking for it in the places you have already looked. It only requires that you give yourself the kind of time and attention you have given to everyone else. It only requires that you stop treating your own crossing as something that can wait. There are wounds that time does not heal. It merely teaches us to hide them. And the hiding is what makes them heavier. The hiding is what makes the weight invisible. The hiding is what makes the exhaustion feel like a permanent address rather than a temporary state. But the hiding is not the same as healing. The hiding is not the same as crossing. And the crossing, when it finally happens, does not happen by accident. It happens because someone somewhere decided that they were done hiding, that they were done carrying in silence, that they were done performing wholeness while quietly falling apart, that they were ready to enter the path, slowly, deliberately, one day at a time, with a structure that honored the weight of what they had been through, with a structure that did not rush them past the dark places but walked them through, with a structure that did not promise overnight transformation but promised something far more valuable, the promise of a return, gradual, real, irreversible, the 7-day ritual. The crossing is that structure. It is not a treatment. It is not a therapy. It is not a cure. It is a guided self-reflection experience, a path of inner centering, a return to presence, a return to emotional sovereignty, a return to the parts of yourself that you have been too busy, too tired, too afraid, too unseen to visit. And it does not ask you to be ready. It only asks you to begin. Because readiness is a myth that the world has been selling you. You do not have to be ready to walk through a door. You only have to be willing. And the willingness is already inside you. It is the reason you are listening to this. It is the reason something in your chest has been tightening and releasing with every word. It is the reason you have not turned away. The willingness has been there all along. It has just been waiting for the right moment to be acknowledged, and the right moment is now. The right moment is always now. And so I will leave you here. at the edge of everything. The place where the old explanations stop working. The place where the old stories stop being enough. The place where you stop reading other people's reflections of you and begin, finally, to look at your own. You have understood by now why a part of you has remained trapped in the past. You have understood why you keep going without feeling complete. You have understood that time alone has not been enough, that recognition alone has not been enough, that understanding alone has not been enough. The wounds that time does not heal require something other than time. They require a crossing, a deliberate, structured, guided return, a path that knows where the doors are, even when you cannot see them, a path that has been laid out by someone who has walked through the same darkness and returned with a way back. The path is not a fix. It is not a cure. It is a returning, a remembering, a re-entry into the rooms of yourself that you locked so long ago you forgot they were yours. The 7-day ritual, the crossing. 7 days, 7 thresholds, 7 stages of return. Water and salt, the mirror, the candle, the earth, the coin, the breath, the silence. Each one a doorway. Each one a step closer to the self that has been waiting. Each one a moment of presence that no one else can take from you. The access is in the first pinned comment. The first door is there. But the door itself, the door is yours to walk through, and that is exactly as it should be, because no one else can walk through it for you. No one else can take the steps in your place. No one else can offer the breath, the reflection, the silence, the recognition of your own face in the dark. The crossing is yours. The path has simply been made visible. What you do with it, that is the part of the story that is still being written. And that story, chosen one, is the one that begins the moment you stop being the one who was acted upon and become finally the one who acts. Not in violence, not in vengeance, in return. The return to yourself, to your own center, to the place where the silence is not empty, where the breath is not a reflex, where the mirror reflects not a performance, but a person. Where the flame, however long it has been buried under ash, is still there, burning, patient, waiting, for you.